Welcome to G Fun Facts Online, the show that dives deep into the fascinating stories hiding just beneath the surface of our world. Today, we're hacking into a topic that affects millions of us, whether we're students, faculty, or just proud alumni: the digital security of our universities. The hallowed halls of academia, those stone and ivy bastions of knowledge, are under siege, not by armies, but by code. In the digital age, university campuses have become sprawling, interconnected ecosystems of data, and that data has made them a prime target for cybercriminals. Data breaches aren't a distant threat anymore. They're a harsh reality, costing millions, disrupting education, and shattering trust. In the next 20 minutes, we'll explore the anatomy of a university data breach, dissecting why these institutions are such attractive targets, how attackers break in, the devastating impact, and most importantly, how the ivory tower can and must fight back. So let's get into it. Why are universities the perfect victim for a digital heist? It comes down to a perfect storm of vulnerability. By design, they are open and collaborative environments. That's fantastic for learning, but it's a nightmare for security. Couple that with a constantly changing user base of thousands of students and staff, many of whom have never had a minute of cybersecurity training. The result is a massive, complex attack surface, often managed with limited budgets and outdated technology that can't keep up with sophisticated attackers. The statistics are staggering. Between 2020 and 2021, cyber attacks on the education sector surged by 75%. Ransomware attacks, which we'll get into later, are at crisis levels, with attacks against higher education jumping 70% in 2023 alone. These aren't just numbers. They're stolen identities, compromised research, and institutions forced to divert precious money from education to crisis management. To understand how to defend against these attacks, we first have to understand why they happen. What makes a university such a prize? The value boils down to three main areas: the data they hold, the vulnerabilities of their culture, and the potential for massive disruption. First, let's talk about the data. Universities are colossal repositories of sensitive information, a one-stop shop for cybercriminals. The most basic prize is personally identifiable information, or PII. This includes names, social security numbers, birth dates, driver's license details, everything an attacker needs for identity theft and fraud. Think about it. A single university holds this data for students, faculty, staff, alumni, and even applicants who never enrolled. One major incident at the University of Michigan exposed the personal records of about 230,000 people. Beyond that, you have financial data, student financial aid records, tuition payments, bank account details for payroll, and donor information. A breach here can lead to direct financial theft. Many universities also operate their own health services, meaning they handle protected health information, or PHI. This is highly regulated and extremely valuable to criminals for things like insurance fraud. But perhaps the most unique and sought-after data is intellectual property. Universities are hubs of innovation, conducting cutting-edge research in technology, defense, and medicine. Nation-state actors, often sponsored by foreign governments, specifically target this data for economic and military advantage. For example, hackers have targeted U.S. universities to steal research with military applications, while others have gone after scientific papers related to nuclear research. Losing this intellectual property can derail years of work and even compromise national security. The second reason universities are targets is their open culture. A corporation can lock down its network, but a university has to provide broad access to a diverse population across sprawling campuses. Wi-Fi is everywhere, and people connect with multiple personal devices, many of which aren't secure. On top of that, many universities have decentralized IT departments. The engineering school might manage its own systems, while the Arts and Sciences College manages theirs. This leads to inconsistent security policies and a fragmented environment that's hard to protect. And think about the high user turnover. The student population changes dramatically every single year, creating a constant logistical challenge of managing who has access to what. But even with all these technical vulnerabilities, the most common way attackers get in isn't through a technical flaw but a human one. Social engineering and phishing attacks are the leading cause of data breaches in academia. Attackers send fake emails that look like they're from the university IT department, the financial aid office, or the library. These emails trick you into clicking malicious links or downloading infected attachments that steal your login credentials. Students are frequent targets, often getting hit with these scams during busy times like the start of the school year or around financial aid deadlines, when they're more likely to let their guard down. The final piece of the puzzle is a lack of resources. Many public universities face significant financial constraints. They struggle to compete with the private sector for top cybersecurity talent and often work with outdated legacy systems that vendors no longer support. Attackers know this and are experts at exploiting these known vulnerabilities. So we have valuable data, cultural openness, human error, and limited resources. It's a combination that makes universities an irresistible target. Now that we know why, let's look at how. A university data breach is rarely a single event. It's a methodical campaign, a multi-stage process that security experts often call the cyber kill chain. Understanding these stages is key to stopping them. Stage 1 is reconnaissance. The attack begins long before any digital alarms go off. Attackers do their homework. They scrape university websites to map out departments, identify key people like financial officers or research leads, and figure out email address formats. They use platforms like LinkedIn to find system administrators or research assistants who might have special access. They also use automated tools to scan the university's network for open doors, like outdated software or other technical vulnerabilities. The goal is to find the path of least resistance. Stage 2 is the initial compromise, getting a foot in the door. Once a weak point is found, the attacker makes their move. The most common method, as we mentioned, is a phishing email. An email that looks like it's from IT services might warn a professor their mailbox is almost full and urge them to click a link to increase their quota. That link leads to a fake login page that steals their username and password. Just like that, the attacker has the keys to the kingdom. Another method is exploiting a technical vulnerability directly. The infamous Move It breach is a prime example. A ransomware group found a flaw in a popular file transfer software used by hundreds of organizations, including many universities, and used it to steal data from all of them at once. Stage 3 is establishing a foothold and escalating privileges. Once inside, the attacker's goal is to stay hidden and expand their control. They might install malware, like a remote access Trojan, which lets them maintain persistent control over the infected computer, even if the user changes their password. Then, they start to move laterally across the network. A student's laptop is just the starting point. The real prize is the servers where all that sensitive data is stored. Attackers exploit weak internal security, like a lack of network segmentation, which ideally should isolate critical systems from the general campus network. The classic Target breach from 2013 started this way, moving from a third-party vendor to the company's main payment systems. At the same time, they worked to escalate their privileges. The compromised account of a student has limited permissions, so the attacker's goal is to become an administrator, giving them godlike control. Stage 4 is the heist. Once the attackers have reached their objective, they execute their final plan. This can go one of two ways. The first is data exfiltration. This is the quiet theft of information. Attackers will compress and encrypt huge amounts of data to avoid being detected by security tools. Then, they slowly siphon it out over days or weeks to a server they control. The goal is to get in and out before anyone even knows they were there. The second way is ransomware deployment. Here, the goal isn't stealth, it's disruption. Once they have control of critical systems, The attackers deploy malicious software that encrypts all the university's files, making them completely inaccessible. Systems grind to a halt. Student information systems, email, online learning platforms, even campus phone lines can go dark. Then, the attackers leave a ransom note demanding a huge payment, often in cryptocurrency, in exchange for the decryption key. Often, this comes with a threat to leak all the data they already stole if the ransom isn't paid, a tactic called double extortion. And finally, Stage 5, the aftermath. The breach is often discovered long after the initial compromise, maybe when law enforcement finds student data for sale on the dark web. With ransomware, the discovery is brutally immediate, and this is where the true costs, financial, reputational, and operational, begin to mount. The impact of a university data breach creates a devastating ripple effect. First, the financial costs are staggering. The ransom demand itself can be in the millions. The global average ransom payment in mid-2023 soared to over $740,000, but even if a ransom isn't paid, the recovery costs are immense. This includes hiring cybersecurity experts for investigation, rebuilding compromised systems, and paying for services like credit monitoring for everyone affected. After a breach in 2014, the University of Maryland spent over $6 million on these services alone. Then there are the legal fees and potential fines from class action lawsuits filed by affected students and staff. But perhaps even more damaging is the blow to the university's reputation. A university is built on trust. A data breach shatters that trust. Prospective students and their parents are now asking about data security. Some studies show universities see a 15% decrease in applications after a major breach. It can also have a chilling effect on alumni relations and fundraising. And finally, the operational disruption can bring a university to a standstill. Ransomware attacks can disable everything from online classes and registration portals to campus Wi-Fi. The disruption can last for weeks, canceling classes, delaying research, and preventing the university from functioning. The loss of research data can be catastrophic, representing years of lost work and jeopardizing future funding. It's a powerful reminder that cybersecurity isn't just an IT issue. It's a fundamental risk to the entire institution. So, how can universities fight back? In the face of these escalating threats, a reactive, check-the-box approach to security is a recipe for disaster. Universities need a proactive, multi-layered defense strategy. And it starts not with technology, but with people. The first and most important step is fostering a human firewall through education. Cybersecurity awareness training should be mandatory for all students, faculty, and staff, and it needs to be ongoing. This training should use real-world examples to teach people how to recognize phishing emails, how to use strong and unique passwords, and why they should use unsecured public Wi-Fi for sensitive tasks. A powerful tool here is regular, unannounced phishing simulations. These are safe, fake phishing emails sent to users. Anyone who clicks is directed to a page with immediate feedback and more training. It's a practical learning experience in a safe environment. Next, of course, comes the technical fortress. This is about defense in depth, a layered approach so that if one control fails, others are there to stop an attack. The single most effective technical control is multi-factor authentication, or MFA. By requiring a second form of verification, like a code from a mobile app, in addition to a password, MFA can block over 99% of automated credential theft attacks. It should be on every critical system. Another key is data encryption. Sensitive data must be encrypted both at rest on servers and in transit across the network. This ensures that even if data is stolen, it's unreadable and useless to the attacker. Universities also need to adopt a zero-trust architecture. The old castle and moat model, which trusts anyone inside the network, is obsolete. A zero-trust model operates on the principle of never trust, always verify. It requires strict identity verification for every user and every device trying to access anything on the network, no matter where they are. Finally, universities need proactive risk management. This means conducting regular cybersecurity audits to identify the biggest risks. It means carefully vetting all third-party vendors who have access to the university's network. And critically, it means having a detailed incident response plan that is tested regularly. You don't want to be figuring out your emergency plan while the fire is already burning. By weaving these elements, human education, technical controls, and strategic governance, into the fabric of the institution, universities can move from a position of vulnerability to one of strength. Fortifying the halls of academia isn't just about protecting data. It's about safeguarding the very future of education and research in our digital age. That's all the time we have for today on GE Fun Facts Online. Thanks for tuning in, and join us next time as we explore another fascinating corner of our world.